Everyone, this is Sean. So today I want to show you how to set up n8n for an agentic AI RAG system. And in fact, I actually interviewed at n8n a while ago, but because they asked me for a visa sponsorship, so we didn't end up continuing the conversation. But I tried this tool for a couple of weeks now, and I think I kind of get the hang of it. It's not the easiest tool to use because it does require some understanding of how to build up a system or an AI automation workflows. But I would say it's totally manageable even if you're not technical to handle building these workflows by yourself. Let me show you a real example of using this workflow before jumping into anything else, okay? So now we're in this website for n8n, and if I click on open chat, I'll be able to start asking a question. I'll just be like, can you tell me what blue colored car models you have? I want to know how much they cost. So you can see that these little things are spinning around. Whenever it's spinning, that means it's working at that node, okay? So let's firstly check the result. You see that the answer says that they have blue color car and they have a BYD Atto 3, Ford F-150, as well as a Tesla Model Y. According to our database, if I just change the color to filter it to blue and set OK, you can see 4 car models here, but only 3 of them are currently in stock. So it actually captured the right model, right? Tesla Model Y. We got the right car models here. And also we have a documentation basically that includes all the sales and product policies related to this entire knowledge base. For example, we have some sales terms for financing, okay? Let's just ask the question and see if it's accurate. What is your financing terms? So now you see that the Supabase vector store was spinning, okay? And then it fetched the data for me. It says financing options range from 24 to 72 months, right? The minimum down payment is 10%. If I refer back to the document, yeah, that's exactly right, 24 to 72 months and 10% for down payment for any vehicle price. Let's do a quick recap on AI agent system design. Initially, a user will start asking a question on a web chat or an email or WhatsApp. And after they ask a question, the AI agent or RAG agent will receive that question. Before this AI agent thinks and return or respond to the user, they could have a toolbox to leverage. That could be a vector database, which in many cases would be things like policies, documentations, PDFs, where it would be hard for traditional tabular Excel sheets or tabular data to store such information. On the other hand, you could be querying some tabular data as well. For example, if you're a car dealership, which is an example that we're going to use today, you might have some car inventory data stored in your Excel sheet or Google Worksheet. So today our AI agent basically has 2 tools handy for it to be able to call the information. One is the vector database that will contain information about the sales policy, return policy, customer support, all these kind of things. People who have watched my previous videos will probably have already seen it, but if you have not, don't worry, we're going to explain in this video as well. And also, if the user was asking about what kind of car models do you have, or can I have a certain color, they'll also be able to query from a tabular database. Now let me show you how to build this exactly in n8n, and hopefully you'll be able to get hands-on by yourself as well. Now I just landed at a completely new workflow page, and I'm going to start building this entire thing from scratch. The first thing we're going to do is that we're going to set up the vector database for this agentic RAG workflow. So I'm going to search Drive here, click on Google Drive, and I'm going to click on changes to a specific file, okay? And then I'm going to choose this Google Doc, Automotive Sales and Support Knowledge Base, all right? Click on Fetch Test Event. Okay, cool. It's running. Next thing that we need to download this file. Click on Google Drive, download file, okay? And then the resource is still the file, download, Automotive Sales and Support Knowledge Base, execute the setup. Okay, now we get the data. What is really important here is that if you click on download file and hit enter, it's going to turn on this parameters page for you. What we need to do is that we need to click on add option and make sure that we convert the Google file to certain document types. I'm going to convert Google Doc to a PDF first, and then the Google Sheet should be going to CSV, okay? Execute the steps. The next thing is that we need to insert it into a vector database. So in our case, we're going to use Supabase. If you search Supabase, you can see Supabase vector store here. Add documents to vector store. You need to set up your Supabase account first, okay? If you have not done this, click on create new credential. The host is basically your Supabase host, and then you need to put in your service role secret as well. Everything is in your configuration page on Supabase. If you're already familiar with it, just try it. If you have not, feel free to watch my previous videos to set it up. We're just gonna choose the Supabase account we already set up, and then insert the documents is a task for here, and I'm gonna choose the table name. In my case, the table will be car sales knowledge base, okay? And then every time it's going to process 200 of them. Execute the step. The reason why we're getting this error is because, as you can see that now we have two little connector plus buttons here. The first one is for embedding, because remember our documents are PDFs. They have been uploaded and downloaded, and now we need to feed it into the vector store. We need to embed all the words into number vectors or arrays so that the machine will be able to read it and then match the similarities between vectors. The way that the AI agent work is that it's going to embed all of your questions. Every word is going to be turned into a vector and then check the similarity between the number vectors with each other to the documents that are already stored in your vector store. So they will fetch the most relevant documentations at a very fast speed. Okay, let's click on the plus button. So I'm just going to choose embedding OpenAI. Okay, so I have put in my own OpenAI keys, or you can use the free OpenAI API credits first. And then just to save money, I chose text embedding 3 small. And then I need to click on document. We need a data loader here. Basically what the data loader does is that it's going to load this downloaded file into something that the Supabase vector store will be able to accept. Okay, click on default data loader. Here we're going to need to choose binary. I tried JSON, it's going to mess up the whole thing. Just choose binary here, trust me. For the text splitting, I will choose custom. So you can see that because I chose custom, the text splitter needs us to add in a text splitter. So I chose recursive character text splitter because it split text into chunks by characters recursively and is recommended for most use cases. So the chunk size, I'm going to choose 500, and overlap, I'll choose 20. We actually have finished the data vector store setup. If I check the AI system design again, we basically finished this section, okay? We have set up the vector database, and then we have the connection from the original documentation to chunking the text into smaller pieces, and then eventually turn them into embeddings, okay? We have finished this. So now our job is to run this to make sure that these data are written into your database, and then connect your AI agent to do RAG over here. So you can see that I've already got these ready. So I'm just going to delete all of them. Click on all of them, select delete 10 rows, delete. Okay, so now I have an empty table for car sales knowledge base. Okay, so if I go back to n8n, if I click on execute workflows, okay, now processing, do the embedding. Okay, so now it says workflow executed successfully. If I come back to my Supabase and refresh this page, boom, look at this. It split the documents into these content. Okay, the first one obviously is about anything at the title for quotation policy. And then let's say this one is talking about the sales fleet policy. So everything is basically this entire document for our sales and support knowledge base. Okay, now they're all sitting quietly in our Supabase vector store. Okay. And also you can check the metadata. If you click on it, you can see from which line, from line 66 to line 74 in this document called Automated Sales Support and Knowledge Base. So we're going to leave this on the side because this is technically the vector database. And this Supabase vector store is, remember, if I click on it and I hit enter, it's for us to insert documents. We basically need another database vector store for us to retrieve information. So in n8n, we need to do that separately, okay? So now let me just start building the chat workflow on the right-hand side. If I click on plus and type in chat, I'll be able to say the chat trigger, okay? If I just click on test chat, nice, it's ready. So firstly, I need to connect this chat. Well, this chat is basically this, the user channel, okay? The user channel needs to be connected with the AI agent. So let's add an AI agent here. If you see that there's an AI section, and you can just click on AI agent. And here, there's an option which you can add a system message, okay? I'm just gonna paste in the system message I already wrote over here. Basically, you're an AI sales lead manager for automotive dealership. Be warm, concise, and action-oriented. Use tools to ground every fact, okay? And then basically I was explaining all the tools that we'll be able to use, all right? There's a tool that we're going to define called search inventory, which is basically going to do some queries on our inventory data, which I'll set up in a bit later. And also a bit about how we expect the output to be when it comes to tool usage. And last but not least, it also specified the answering logic. For example, if you use a knowledge-based RAG, answer naturally with the retrieved policy facts. No hallucination, no guesses. If a fact is not found, just say so briefly and offer a next step. Okay? These are all like very practical things, and you can append your real use cases to it to make sure that this agent is more adapted to your businesses. At the end, I think a good practice is that always show the agent some examples of how to use this. Now you can see that there are 3 more connectors. First one is the chat model, the second one is memory, and the third one is tool. All right, so this agent needs to be connected to a LLM model here. So I'm just going to search OpenAI because I already set up the credit for OpenAI here. Okay, and then you can choose, basically you could choose any model you want, but in my case, I'll probably just choose GPT-4o mini to save some money. Okay, so now you can see that it's connected to a model. And then for the memory, this is basically for AI agent to share the states or share the chat history for the entire conversations in the past, so that this agent still remembers what you talked about 5 seconds ago. Feel free to choose any other database memories because you can store these data in your database, just like our Supabase vector store. But in this case, I'll probably just try simple memory as a use case to start with. Now's the time to add more tools to this AI agent, okay? That's what makes this a agentic RAG, okay? So I'm gonna click on AI agent and click on space. Now I'm gonna call it AI Agentic RAG. All right. If I click on this tool, the first thing is that I can choose the vector database. So Supabase vector store again, okay? This time we need to retrieve the documents, all right? The first time we did the insert documentation. Now we need to retrieve it, okay? And then we need to choose the table that we want to retrieve information from. Click on execute step. So we can just try something real quick here. I can just be like, what is the financing terms for our sales? Here we lack an embedding because we need to make sure that our question is also embedded so that they can compare the embedding of our question to the embedding of the documents in the data vector stores. Okay, let's do that. Now we have the Supabase vector store. If I click on this plus button and then choose the embedding OpenAI one more time, I'm going to use the same model. Okay, cool. Now let's try this one more time. Click on it, hit enter. Well, we need a description for this. Okay, retrieve knowledge base about the sales from Supabase vector store. Execute steps. What is our financing terms? Cool, it worked. Well, it worked because it just embedded the question. That's it. All right. And then the output is basically numerical arrays, as you can see. Honestly, we can already test this. We can just be like, what is our financing terms? Let's go. You can see now it's fetching, retrieving the data, and then went back to the AI chat model. And then now you can see that it already told me about the financing terms ranging from 24 to 72 months. All right, minimum down payment is 10%. That's exactly the same as our financing terms, 24 to 72, 10%. Okay, let's come back here. And also, if you scroll up a little bit, you can see every step here, okay? Initially, there's a simple memory with the system message that we put it in earlier. And also, you can check what is the input for the AI models. When we were at the Supabase vector store, you can see that the query was about financing terms, and then the response was basically this, and then you can check the JSON format over here. All right, you can see the entire thing that it was fetching. All right, page content, sales policy, yada, yada, yada. And then you can see the embedding for the question query over here as well. Chat model again, because after you fetch the relevant documents, it's going to start processing it. And then you get the final results over here. All right, so a very standard RAG has finished. But, you know, in many cases, the RAG is supposed to be doing multiple things, okay? Now we only have one tool. But what if, as we mentioned earlier, what if we also wanted to fetch some tabular data as well? And it should be based on the user's question to this, the agent should be able to decide what tools it needs to use. This is called agentic RAG here. All right, it's not just some basic RAG. So let's come back here. So this is an inventory data that I prepared for the day, okay? Because this is about car dealership, there are a bunch of cars, BYD, Tesla, Toyota, BMW, Ford, Nissan, Hyundai, and Kia, okay? And it has their price as well, has the color, all these kind of things. And then my goal is to I inserted that into my Supabase, okay? I have a new table called inventory. If I'll click clear, you can see that the exact same table is here. What we need right now is that we want this AI agent, the RAG agent, to be able to have access to this tabular data. There are a few ways. You could try to have a SQL query tool available for this agent to use. But today we're going to try something called RPC Functions. It's basically a function in Supabase that allows you to use some APIs to query directly from your Supabase data table. I'm going to show you how. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my Supabase. If I go to my left bar and I click on my API documents, you can see that I already have some functions here ready, all right, and also my tables here. So if I click on inventory table, you can see that every entry, every data column has their own documentations here. And also I need to set up this function called search inventory, okay? What search inventory does is that it allows n8n, if it has my credentials, to be able to query things related to search inventory, okay? And then all the documentations are here. So I prepared the function here in the code already. As you can see that it has these parameters, things related to color, make, model, power, powertrain, body size, location, pricing, all these kind of things. And there's the requirements for how we can fetch these information as well from the inventory table, okay? So if you're not familiar with the SQL, you can just copy this and then paste it. Let me just copy this, and then paste it over here into your Supabase SQL editor plus new snippet, paste it here, and just do Command Enter to run it. Okay, after running this, you'll be able to have this function already. So I remember you can come to a database and then check on functions. If I just search inventory, you can see it right here. Okay. If I click on the three dots and click on edit function, you can see everything's here. Okay. Save the function again. And then let me just click on this plus button. Now what we need is an HTTP request tool because we're basically showing this tool to the agentic RAG saying that, hey, here's this RPC function from Supabase that you can use where you can just query things about the inventory. All right. I'm going to click on it and start configure this. Make an HTTP request, return the response data, and the tool name is called search inventory. And this should be a post method instead of a get, because if you use get, you cannot add all the parameters later. All right. So what we need to do is that you need to add in your URL for your Supabase, and then you need to turn on the send headers and copy this from here, project URL, come back to your n8n, paste it here, and then you need to do /rest/v1/rpc/search inventory. For the send headers, it's a very standardized thing. You need three things basically. The first one is an API key. This is exactly the same as writing a curl to query things from an API, okay? But now you just basically manually put in these parameters. Another one is called authorization. The third one is called content type, okay? The value is basically application/JSON. Please go to your Supabase to fetch information for your API keys and your authorization. Basically, API keys is your public n8n keys. Authorization is your service role keys, okay? If you come to Supabase, everything is inside of API keys button here in the setting, okay? I won't expose this because it's not safe, all right? Come back to n8n, scroll down. What else we need to do is that we need to send a body, turn it on. You can see that we're starting with JSON and using fields below. We need to switch this to using JSON. And then I'm just going to use expression. And then double curly brackets, hash $sign JSON. Okay, so this is basically saying we're gonna send whatever body JSON that the AI agent send us, and then we'll send this to the Supabase side. We need to come to setting, and basically you need to leave a notes here so that your agentic RAG AI agent will be able to read it and know what this kind of tool, what tool this really is, so that it knows how to use it. Okay, I prepared a note here. You can try something similar. Basically, I was saying this tool is search inventory, when you can use it. Okay, what is this example that you can use it? All right, for example, you can set the make to be Toyota. You can set the P in stock to be true, okay, or the color is blue, all these kind of things. And then you can also try things like what is your parameter mapping over here? All right, colors usually will be mapped to P underscore color. All right, so these are all just related to how you define your data schema. All right, let's click on execute steps. Cool, it's working. So it says what cars are under $30,000, and then it used a tool called HTTP request. It did not go to our Supabase vector store because it's not relevant. Okay, and you can see there's a Toyota Corolla SE, BYD Dolphin, and BYD Dolphin Comfort. If I come back to the Excel sheet, we can quickly check. Okay, let's say the USD price, and then we can set up a condition for the price to be less than 30,000. Okay, yeah, exactly these 3 car models. Okay, so this workflow is working. I have to say that it took me quite some time to configure all these kind of things, and a lot of the channels on the internet has helped me a lot, especially Nate. Please go ahead and check out Nate's video. He's an expert on n8n, but in my case, because I'm mainly focused on how do you write code to explain AI agent system design, and I thought it would be very helpful for me to also show an example in n8n, because a lot of the audience, as far as I know, are probably not technical in terms of being a full stack engineer. So this tool probably is very helpful for you. But as someone who built full stack, who runs my own startup, which is called Automanus, we basically help businesses selling solutions or physical products to manage their sales leads. I really need to build everything from scratch in code. A tool like n8n is probably not good enough for me or for people for such cases, because it's not very customizable in many situations, and you have to sort of configure a lot of things to connect these nodes to each other, following the rules that's written here. So if you're like a serious startup founder, have your own agentic workflow, I highly recommend you write your own code instead of relying on n8n. But I think this is a very good way to figure out some quick demos to showcase how you can sort of connect some knowledge base into an agentic automation workflow. And also for the education purposes, we're using the agentic RAG concept here. Basically, it has multiple tools that it can fetch and decide which one to use. Okay, and this is a very essential part of learning AI agent system design. I hope this video is helpful for you to understand this. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and comment down below and join our Discord. And if you're a business who are interested in our product, automanus.io, feel free to try it out and let me know. I'm always available on Twitter/X, LinkedIn, or Discord. Just let me know. And if you like this video, click the subscribe and click on the like button. Really appreciate it.